Now, you want me to say wannabe dictator?
Sure, you can say wannabe dictator, but I don't even think he wants to be a dictator.
Of course he does. That's what you do when you lose an election and you go, oh, I got fake election.
He's right. Oh, that's so funny. Oh, no. Oh, God, I'm so unk-pilled right now. I know Anna. I've known Anna for 20 fucking years, okay? I think that, like, slowly but surely she got, like, crime-pilled, okay? And people were, like, very upset with her over that. And then she got like transphobia pilled a little bit with like the birthing person stuff. And I think it's just like basically fried her brain.
If you roll out tanks against American citizens.
Okay, so if you think he's a fascist, wouldn't that justify taking physical action against him?
No, because that doesn't help. That devolves us further into fascism.
Whoa, what a straw man.
Exactly.
Can you pause it actually?
There's a difference between somebody.
I guess I didn't see that part, but what I mean, it's a way to continue to delegitimize what Cenk is saying there, and Cenk is absolutely right. I mean, look.
The people aren't here to watch us talk about our studio and how it's blossomed over the years. They're here to watch us talk about Ana Kasparian freaking mauling out of control, leaving the left, running around like a chicken with their head cut off, going to, bok, 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 with anybody that will hear her squawk, 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 squawk about how the left is so intolerant. Oh, why aren't we welcoming and warm like the right wing? Could you imagine those words coming out of your mouth, Gavin, after this? Like, oh, they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, they come into your town, we got to get them out of here, folks. We don't know what's going to happen, we don't know what they're going to do. Basically starting pogroms or attempting to in our country in 2024 against a community of people who have been nothing but beneficial to their community. She's like, no, it's the right wing that's welcoming, it's the left that's impossible to get along with.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely crazy. And we're going to talk a little bit about this, guys, because we have several clips to play, several clips to review of people like Emma Vigeland, people like Hasan, people like Mike from the Humanist Report, calling out Ana Kasparian, criticizing her recent turn to the right, criticizing her recent commentary on the Young Turks, specifically as she randomly decided to defend Donald Trump and put out the thought that maybe we're all overreacting about the fascist threat that Donald Trump.
Don't say the F word, Gavin.
Yeah. And again, it's like, she said this to Cenk Uygur. We played the clip, we reacted to it, but it's not just Cenk Uygur who's willing to call Donald Trump a fascist at this point. I think a lot of people have just come around to the fact that it's actually an accurate term to describe this man and his approach to politics based on what we saw after the last election, based on his refusal to concede that election, and based on his behavior that got him into power in the first place as well, with the Make America Great Again rhetoric, with the demonization of immigrants and the intense xenophobia, the nationalism. I mean, these MAGA supporters, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, they will unironically defend the term Christian nationalism and self-identify as such. They'll say, yes, this is a Christian nationalist movement. So it's not even like a smear. It's not like some hyperbolic, like when people call Kamala a communist or something. It's not the left-wing equivalent of calling Kamala Harris a communist. There's nothing about Kamala Harris that's communist. In fact, she's the opposite. She's a corporate capitalist. She's a neoliberal. She's anything but communist.
She's a kleptocrat for sure.
And one sec, Donald Trump is actually a fascist. I don't think that's like, up for debate. I don't think it's just a smear. And that's actually why I am glad Kamala Harris used that word herself. It's actually one instance that I thought was very strong from Kamala on the campaign trail recently when she said, yes, I will call Donald Trump a fascist. I think she was asked about it at some town hall. They said, do you think Donald Trump's a fascist? And she said, yes. And I said, thank you for not waffling, because it's just the accurate, honest answer.
100%. And what I was just going to add, Gavin, is it's not just the fact that he has all of this rhetoric. It's also the post-truth element of his entire political career. It's the fact that it doesn't matter what he says. His base has already decided that they are going to follow him to the end of the earth. They are going to start from he is correct and work backwards, right? They do not care if he lies. They don't care if he misrepresents the argument. They don't care anything about what the guy has to actually say, right? They've already decided that he is their, messiah. He is, the champion of their ideology. He's fighting for them. And whatever he is going to do is just righteous. You know, he even himself, one of the first signs of direct fascism that I don't think anybody could refute was when he said that he could shoot somebody on, what was it, Main Street or Fifth Avenue or whatever the hell the actual quote was. And he was like, and his supporters would still cheerlead him. That was 100% true, guys.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And it's not even a recent thing either. It's not like, oh, there's a couple statements from the last week or so that people are talking about. No, Donald Trump said over a year, maybe 2 years ago, that we were going to have to terminate the Constitution. Like, again, these are real quotes. It's not stuff that's being made up that Democrats are running with and hyperbolic attack ads. Like, this is actual quotes, real things that have been said, real things that happened. Obviously, January 6th, fake elector scheme. And then Joe Rogan gives Donald Trump the floor. He gives Donald Trump the uninterrupted floor and says, come on, show us what you got. How was the election stolen? Please lay it out. Please explain this, because you hear a lot about it, but you never seem to get a lot of specifics. He couldn't do it. Trump could not do it.
He gave him the old Graham Hancock. He was going to bring back more slides next time.
Yeah, he was like, let me bring back my HDMI cable and a couple folders full of documents, and it's absolutely insane that Ana Kasparian would defend this
Liberal
person.
pearl clutching.
But I do want everyone to focus on something specific about today's commentary and today's segment. I tried to discuss this a little bit in our last stream in context to this grift, but to me, it's not even the most notable thing about all of this at this date, at this point. It's not even the fact that Ana Kasparian is doing what she's doing. It's how poorly she's doing it. It's how incapable she seems to be of actually defending Donald Trump, of actually making a compelling case for Donald Trump, because you can do it. I mean, if you're really good at rhetoric and you're a really good debater and a lot of facts, you can still present a picture that omits enough evidence to make it seem like you're onto something.
How would you do it?
I would have to think about it.
Sure.
I don't spend enough time. I mean, that's an intellectual exercise that, would be interesting. I'm not sure if I have I'm
just curious because I think it would be difficult.
It would be difficult. I've seen people do a better job than others,
sure,
but I don't think Ana did a good job at all. In the clip that's went viral, the clip that we reacted to and that we've been talking about for the last 10 minutes or so, the one where she pushes back on Cenk's labeling of Donald Trump as a fascist and says, is he really a fascist? Is he even a wannabe dictator? She won't even go that far. She can't do a good job at actually defending Donald Trump. She can't actually do a good job at articulating these batshit right-wing positions. And I think proof of that, Zach, is the fact that today we're going to be watching a bunch of people talking about this clip, but everyone that we're going to be reacting to talking about this clip is criticizing Ana. It's not like a bunch of right-wing channels seized on this clip to make videos saying Ana Kasparian owns Cenk.
I did see one.
Destroyed. Okay, well, maybe there's one.
I'll try and find it because I've seen this kid a few times and he's got maybe 250,000 subscribers, but it was like Ana dogpiled after defending Trump. I'll find it.
Okay, well, maybe there is one or two people out there that are trying to pretend this was a W, but I think most Trump supporters even look at that clip and realize that it was a really bad look for MAGA, that it was a really bad look for Donald Trump himself and people that want to, argue,
make America great again.
Yeah, and people that want to push back on the notion that he's a fascist, even if that's something you believe. I don't think Ana did a good job changing anyone's mind. I don't think Ana did a good job convincing anyone that maybe we should think twice about calling this person a fascist. She got instantly destroyed by Cenk Uygur. And I actually think that's one of the reasons why Ana's grift is not being executed particularly gracefully. One of the reasons why she's having such a hard time pulling off this grift is because she's sitting next to a pretty good debater on TYT. Cenk Uygur is no lightweight when it comes to the sport of debate, and anything she says, he can pretty instantaneously bat aside.
100%. I completely agree with you, Gavin. It's actually one of the reasons I've been skeptical that she'll be able to completely, fully ingratiate herself into right-wing media, because this is the show I was talking about. This guy, Vince Dow, he's like the alter ego of the Vanguard. He like finds clips and praises them from the right-wing MAGA perspective. But this one he calls Cenk Uygur loses it at Ana Kasparian after she defends Trump. Right, and he does a really piss poor job of talking about how Ana's actually based for standing up to Uygur and the Cenk Uygur and the fucking liberal pearl clutching.
Even this guy doesn't title the video "Ana destroys Cenk."
Nope, it's way more about Cenk bullying Ana. And the other point I was about to make is this guy has 368,000 subs, and if you click on his channel, his videos do get a decent amount of engagement here. I'll pull it up a little bit bigger so everybody can see. He makes content that gets a more engagement than that typically, which just means that from the right-wing perspective, Ana Kasparian isn't as much of a commodity. And I think the problem that she's facing is that she can't effectively make an argument for MAGA politics. She can only pearl clutch about certain culture war issues, right? Because her ideological pivot isn't one that's rooted in a political, movement. It's a cultural movement, right? It's one of discrimination. It's one of bigotry. That's why I think it's so fucking, pernicious. That's why I think it's so fucking gross that she's doing this for money. She's like, you know what? I'm annoyed by XYZ marginalized groups, and because of that, I am going to prop myself up further by pushing them down. I mean, it's a disgraceful maneuver. And at least when you hear people like JD Vance, at least when you hear people like Patrick Bet David, they will cogently put together kind of like what you're saying. They're like, or even Sagar and Jetty, who I massively disagree with and I think is a poor advocate for Donald Trump. He'll at least say, yeah, he wants to be a fascist. Yeah, he wants to be a dictator. But the threat of Kamala Harris is so crazy, right? The threat of Kamala Harris makes it so that anything would be better than that, because you don't know what she's going to do. She's going to take away our First Amendment rights. You're never going to be able to make money again in this country. And we know that's all a lie, but at least it's something that they can say. Anna won't say any of that.
Oh yeah, I think you're onto a lot, and I think you're 100% correct where her transition is truly a reactionary one. It's based out of a literal reaction in the most, in this true sense of the word. She's talked about it. People on the left were mean to me, so now I don't like them. They didn't accept me enough, so now I'm going to go where I am accepted. That's basically the whole gist of her arc. And again, it's not even just me saying that. It's literally her saying that. It's her own Substack article where she outlines her pivot and why she's changed. And yeah, it basically amounts to, I didn't get as much sympathy as I wanted from the left, and then some of my old friends were mean to me when I tweeted cringe. That's basically it. That's basically it. So I think you're right, Zach, that she did this expecting to immediately get embraced by the right wing, but ultimately she's not a compelling enough right-wing commentator. She's not actually good at defending Donald Trump, who's currently the head honcho of the Republican Party. But it's also like it's not that she doesn't want to defend him. She's just not good at it. She does clearly want to defend him. Why else would she have pushed back on Cenk and other people that call him a fascist, when again, that's obviously true?
I tuned into this guy a little bit earlier, so always exciting to watch the Majority Report gang get into the muck a little bit. We're gonna have to sift around. This is from their unlisted stream, you guys, because we do our homework over here at the Vanguard. I was like, I bet they're gonna weigh in on this at some point in the live stream. So here we go.
Acting to was it no, this wasn't JD Vance's comments. This was basically a conversation about fascism. I didn't have the full context.
Earlier they were listening to Mika Brzezinski on The View, who got emotional talking about Trump's threat as a fascist presence in the US and what might happen if he becomes elected.
Okay, gotcha.
And that's where this stemmed from, where they started to talk about fascism.
All right, here we go.
Trump is deeply racist and he says deeply racist things, okay? I want to make a distinction between Donald Trump, the person who says and does racist things, and the notion of a fascist. Because look, if we're just going to use fascist toward anyone we dislike, all right, then the word doesn't actually mean anything.
Okay, what do you want me to say, Anna? You want me to say wannabe dictator?
Sure, you can say wannabe dictator, but I don't even think he wants to be a dictator.
Of course he does. That's what you do when you lose an election and you go, oh, I got fake electors. And
Mom and Dad are fighting.
The Constitution and bring out the tanks and use martial law against American citizens and shoot protesters. I mean, if that's not fascist, then I guess the word just shouldn't exist.
But was he able to do those things?
First of all, his entire cabinet had to threaten, not cabinet, administration, his White House team had to say, we're all going to mass resign if you roll out tanks against American citizens.
Okay, so if you think he's a fascist, wouldn't that justify taking physical action against him?
No, because that doesn't help. That devolves us further into fascism.
Whoa, what a straw man. Exactly. Can you pause it actually?
There's a difference between somebody.
I guess I didn't see that part, but
if he's a fascist, why aren't you, what is the guy who tried to kill Hitler? Ribbentrop or something like that?
Right.
No,
I mean,
Ribbentrop.
It's a way to continue to delegitimize what Cenk is saying there, and Cenk is absolutely right. I mean, look, if she wants a definition, fascism is a political ideology that started, it's an outgrowth of Mussolini and Hitler's reigns at the start of the 20th century. You can characterize it as highly militaristic, nationalistic, anti-democratic, a political movement that encourages violence against leftists, against LGBTQ people, minority groups. Sorry, what'd you say, Brandon?
I said marginalized groups. Yeah, go ahead.
Marginalized groups, right? Or anyone that's opposing you, and that can involve like a consolidation of power for the wealthy. I mean, the definitions of fascism are quite well established, but forced deportation, like that's unequivocally what Donald Trump and JD Vance are proposing there, is unequivocally a fascist policy. So to
it's demographically motivated as well,
exactly.
Despite the, like national.
A Muslim ban, a wall, getting rid of Haitians from places like Ohio. Yeah, fascist.
Socialist gloss that they give to it.
So I found that fascinating and it's depressing to see how, okay, he's not a fascist, or when you make these claims, like how that goes too far is basically what her contention is. And then she asked, was he able to do any of those things? And the point is that, like, yeah, he was thwarted, but apparently you're only a fascist if you win.
Let's give him some more reps at it. Saagar and Jetty make the same point. Like, well, he couldn't really do it, and he didn't really do it. But let's give him 4 more years to try, knowing what he knows now. Well, are you fucking stupid?
Yeah.
Well, it's such a moving goalpost too, because it goes from like, okay, he's not in favor of those things, to like, okay, yes, he is in favor of those things, but he wasn't able to do them. And you see, like, Republicans.
Well, and it's crazy too, because at first Anna doesn't even admit that he wants to do those things. She's like, I don't even think he's a wannabe dictator, and Cenk literally comes out of his skin in that moment, and God bless him, dude. I have a lot of criticisms of Cenk Uygur. I think he's a union buster. I think he's run the Young Turks Network very poorly, but there are some times where you just can't deny the guy's a tremendous advocate for a righteous cause. Right there, he was a tremendous advocate for a righteous cause, just like he is often on panels like Piers Morgan, and he's way more battle tested in debate settings than Ana Kasparian. I think because she's so soft, because she's so snowflakey, because she needs to be coddled and reassured and never challenged, when the rubber hits the road, she doesn't know how to defend her own ideas.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think it's possible that Anna was never actually a very good debater in the first place. That's maybe why she didn't actually do a very good job debating Ben Shapiro. Remember that Ben Shapiro debate where she basically just agreed with him for the majority of it? I mean, she might have done that because she knew she wasn't good enough to actually defeat him at a debate. So I think that's something we're definitely realizing, like, oh, actually Anna's not that good at this. She just had someone next to her that she could lean on and rely on to back her up when necessary. Now that she's trying to confront that person, now that she's actually having to go up against that person, Cenk Uygur, it's not working out so well, because as you said, Zach, Cenk, he'll follow Anna to an embarrassing extent, but he's not going to let her get away with that. And I think that, Anna's like she could make a case just based on like the racial rhetoric that, he's definitely racist, but is that enough to be a fascist? The Democrats are also pretty racist. They also deport people, and they're also racist, whatever. You could kind of start to make an argument in that regard. But what I think, really made it impossible for Cenk to keep his mouth shut is when she then starts to downplay and deny his anti-democratic tendencies, because you combine the xenophobia, you combine the racial hatred that is so important and so central to the Trump message, you combine that with the authoritarian anti-democratic behavior after the last election, the false elector scheme in January 6th. That, in my opinion, is what solidifies it as an undeniable example of fascism, right? So anyway, I think, Cenk kind of realized that and was like, boom.
Yeah, this is about the end of where I wanted to play too. But, it was good to hear the Majority Report gang kind of get in on the clobbering of Anna. I know Emma had a working relationship with Ana Kasparian over at TYT, so it's something that she doesn't love probably to do, which is have to dunk on a former colleague of hers. She's a polite lady and all that stuff, usually likes to leave the dunking to, the gutter guard like us. But it was good to see her draw a line in the sand and be like, this is absolutely unacceptable. Kind of like Cenk Uygur was like, I got a lot of love for Anna. She's the co-host that sits next to me, but you can't let somebody launder Trump's reputation like that days before the election from a massive political platform like that.
Yeah. And again, it's just like, they didn't even have to get worked up. They didn't have to, it was just like a basic conversation where they're like, yeah, obviously This is ridiculous. Of course, Donald Trump fits the definition of a fascist, at least in the modern age. Like, obviously, you're never going to find someone who, in every single way, directly reflects, the traits of Hitler or Mussolini. Like, obviously, there's an evolution to these terms. You're not going to find someone who is literally Hitler, but in the modern era. But as far as American politicians of our lifetime, Zach, I think we would both agree that out of every single major political candidate who has emerged, at least in a successful way, in our lifetime, Donald Trump is the single person that comes to mind who actually genuinely fits the bill in a definitional sense, not hyperbole, not a smear, just an accurate definition. I think it's pretty obvious that's Donald Trump. And again, it's crazy that like Anna wants to be this right-wing commentator. She wants to defend Donald Trump, but she's doing such a dog shit job of doing it that she has to resort to parroting Piers Morgan. Like, literally, I'm not kidding you. She's making the same arguments that Piers Morgan is making. What? How could you say that Donald Trump is a fascist? Don't you know that that's going to inspire political violence? If we're saying he's Hitler, then wouldn't the moral thing to do would be to kill Hitler? Like, that's literally...
Kill baby Hitler.
Yeah, that's all Anna has to say. That's all Anna has to say. She's not even able to come at this with like an interesting perspective or a kind of edgy, new take on right-wing talking points. Nope. Just boring, easily dispensable crap.
Absolutely. Let's hear from Hasan.
Vote for Donald Trump. How did no one ever goes, you were already in office for 4 years, why didn't you do so then? Because Americans have short-term memory loss, and that benefits Donald Trump. Like, they don't remember what it was like when he was president. They only remember what it was like, or what it is currently right now with Joe Biden as president. Now she's just doing this thing, like running defense for Trump's fascism. Like, that's crazy. I am proud of my unk, though, for standing up for what he believes. Let's take a look at what this clip looked like.
Because look, if we're just going to use toward anyone we dislike, all right, then the word doesn't actually mean anything.
Okay, what do you want me to say?
Like, if you cannot call Trump a fascist, there is no reason to use.
Twitch is so censorious. They have to beep out fascist now.
I mean, this is a YouTube video, so I think this person's just being like extra careful.
Fucking crazy.
That is wild.
The word.
I've never beeped out fascist.
No, that's annoying as fuck.
We should not learn about fascism in school. We should not learn about genocides. We should not learn about the Holocaust. We should not learn about like how we got to this point in history, because like that's it. Like he's a fascist. Like, what do you mean? This motherfucker wants to do concentration camps, dude. What are you saying? Like, what?
I'm sorry. This is like listening to the clean version of an Eminem record. What the hell?
What are we doing? What are you saying? It doesn't make any sense. It genuinely does not make any sense. This is going to get clip chimped. No, dude. It's just like, if you don't consider Donald Trump to be a fascist, I don't know what to tell you. Like, what do you think is a fascist?
Now, you want me to say wannabe dictator?
Sure, you can say wannabe dictator, but I don't even think he wants to be a dictator.
Of course he does. That's what you do when you lose an election and you go, oh, I got fake election.
He's right. Oh, that's so funny. Oh, no. Oh, God, I'm so unk-pilled right now. So, of course he does.
Electors, and I'd like to terminate the Constitution and bring out the tanks and use martial law against American citizens and shoot protesters. I mean, if that's not fascist, then I guess the word just shouldn't exist.
But was he able to do those things?
Oh, dude, sorry. Excuse me, officer. I know that like I went into a bank with a gun, okay? And I said, put the money in the bag, please. And then they put the money in the bag, but then on the way out of the bank, I actually slipped on a banana peel and fell. Technically, I didn't extract all of the dollars out of the bank. I am not a bank robber. That's fine. Please do not call me a bank robber, because guess what? I failed in robbing the bank. Like, what are we doing here? When it comes to the term fascist, like, if your entire worldview revolves around ultra-nationalist sentiments, like, and the abolition, the complete fucking deportation of like an entire, like tens of millions of people that are currently living on US soil, like, that's it. That's Adolf Hitler. What are we doing? That's Adolf Hitler. That's it. The f***? He's literally saying he wants to use the military against the enemy from within. That is Adolf Hitler, okay? That does not.
And Gavin, just to break in for 1 second, one thing I really genuinely do appreciate about Hasan, and one thing that makes me feel sane, is that oftentimes when you're put in the position that you are the leftmost voice in a room, so many people, they act like you can't talk about the threat of Donald Trump. Like all of your energy has to be devoted to talking about how bad the Democrats are. They'll kind of like downplay the threat of Donald Trump because they want the Democrats to lose and they want it to sound less bad when that happens. You have so many people who are like, oh, I'm a leftist, but I think Donald Trump is the lesser evil. I swear to God, that is a recurring theme I have read on my Twitter timeline. I'm not even making it up. Go look at Peter Dow. Go look at, the Green Party Twitter page. They'll tell you that Donald Trump is the least bad option, right? It's crazy. But it's always cathartic when you have a guy like Hasan who constantly gets called like a tanky, who constantly gets called like a communist, like the farthest thing to the left. He might actually identify as a communist, clearly not a practicing one. But it's nice to see somebody who is undoubtedly, shamelessly pro-lefty actually walk the walk and castigate Donald Trump like with their full chest.
Yeah, 100%. And as I've said a million times, I think you can even defend Donald Trump and defend voting for him as long as you're honest about who he is. I mean, not that I would agree with it, but I have a lot more respect for the Trump supporters that are and say, yeah, I do want a fascist in charge of the country. I feel like if you're going to defend Donald Trump, that should be the burden that you bear. Yeah, defend him for who he is. Defend him on the actual grounds that there is to defend him on, if you think that's defensible. But what's weird is when someone like Ana Kasparian clearly doesn't and clearly isn't capable of actually doing that, and then just has to do this mealy-mouthed BS where it's like, I'm going to tone police you for saying what's obviously true and what I can't even argue with. I mean, that's just gaslighting 101. That's literally what it is.
I mean, yeah, and in that sense, she is destined for Fox News. Oh, come on. Why is this not playing?
Oh, weird. Maybe because it's on my left.
Yeah. Well, we'll get back to that.
Makes sense. It doesn't, dude. This is why I'm like mad about the Democrats being like, don't call Trump supporters trash. It's like, what are you saying? They're doing Nazi rallies at the place where they did a Nazi rally in 1939. They are Nazis. They're saying Nazi things at the Nazi rally. What the?
Trump's
his rhetoric is awful.
Okay, if you don't want to be called fascist, stop saying fascist things. It's not that hard.
Thank you.
Not that hard. Oh, here, let me have dinner with Nick Fuentes, who's a Nazi, Kanye, who's a Nazi, and let me say there's good people on the Nazi side. Oh, it could be pro-Confederate guys. Might be guys who are pro-slavery.
He's right. He's right. Unc is cooking. He's right. I'm glad that he's like, he hasn't lost the sauce on this part. Because, he's a little bit of a crime guy, too. But goddamn, dude. That's why I'm writing Cenk Uygur on the ballot.
Who are good guys. Let me do all of these things. Let me say that immigrants are poisoning the blood of our nation, a Nazi term that is only used in the past by.
Okay, that's the other thing that makes this poisoning the blood of our nation. That's the most fucking Hitler shit I've ever heard in my entire life.
Straight up.
Like, literally. You feel like we went back in time 150 years. You hear some shit like that.
Yeah. See, Anna's like, she's just making it too easy for people. Like, come on, bro. You can't say Trump's not a fascist when we have 30 quotes of him being a fascist. Like, it's not even a debate at that point. It's just
trying to steal the election.
Yeah. It's like, what do you think you're doing? This isn't even a debate here. This is just like if I was like, you know what? I don't think Kamala Harris is running as a Democrat. And you're like, well, she literally is. So you look dumb.
Or when they call her communist, you know what I mean? It's like it's like you made the perfect analogy. It's like the exact opposite of that. It bears no weight.
Nazis, and then say I'm going to ban Muslims. I'm going to do this and this and this to all the other ethnic groups, and then go, oh, I can't believe you called me a fascist. No, he is a fascist. I'm very happy to call him a fascist.
All right.
All right. I'm not going to get back into it.
Dude, oh God.
I
love this man. That's Unc, man. That's Unc. He went hard. He went fucking hard. I don't think Anna is pro-fascist. I think she's just become like more of a centrist with right-leaning associations as time has continued due to a metric ton of criticism and feedback and backlash that she has received from the left. It cooked, I think, a lot of people's brains get fried when they divert even a little bit from like whatever the leftist progressive position is, right? And most people don't have any way of like dealing with that in a normal fashion, where they just like, the moment that, because they're getting shit on. I know Anna. I've known Anna for 20 fucking years, okay? She got shit on her entire life by the right. Like nonstop, doxing, death threats, rape threats, all this shit, right? So when you're doing that for like 25 fucking years, okay?
I thought the right wing was more welcoming.
Right. It's crazy. That's why she's acting like there's been some like grand realignment, right? I mean, and it's crazy too. I mean, yeah. I mean, you could go through the comment section of any number of like prominent, lefty women in media and read all kinds of disgraceful, fucking horrendous shit from the right.
When you're doing that for 20 plus years, and you're constantly getting fucking bullied, and you feel like, you can't even get support from the left, right? You can't even get like the support that you think you deserve in the left because you have disagreements with other people who are like prominently online, extremely online, on the left, whatever. It just like fries your brain where you're like, what the fuck am I doing this for? And the difference is like, you have to be an incredibly stubborn person to just go, I don't give a fuck what people.
Dude, this is where I start to disagree with Hasan. It makes no sense it would make sense if that was what the case was and she decided she didn't want to do this for a living anymore. If she decided, you know what, I don't need the constant feedback of being a media person. I don't know where I'll be in 25 years. I think Gavin and I are much more healthy. We're much more grounded. We're much more down to earth. But I also could totally see if after 25 years of spending your entire life in front of the camera, you're like, you know what, guys, I actually would just like to produce in the background. I actually would just like to not be recognized when I go out everywhere. I want to write articles. I want to pull topics that I think are important. I want to coach. I want to teach at UCLA. I think that would make so much sense. What doesn't make sense to me is being like, oh, the left wing has started to be mean to me too. Let me go back to the most evil bastards on earth and cuddle up with them just to spite the group I was with. You know what it gives me? It gives me Sopranos vibes. You guys, when Ralphie was having a real hard time with Tony, okay? And so he wants to switch families. And the guy's like, no, that's not how it works. You don't get to switch your family like that, because once you think you can switch your family, come to our family, then you're going to try and switch back to that family. You're like, no. You don't switch families like that, because everybody knows that if you switch families like that, what's that say about you? It means that you're not a person with conviction. It means that you're kind of a snake. It means that you were willing to take an opportunity here, and now that opportunity is no good no more, you're going to go throw those other people down the river and you're going to jump ship, right? That's bullshit.
Yeah, 100%. And again, I know that Hasan says he's like, he's known Anna, he's had a relationship with her, like he actually knows her in real life, whatever. So I don't think he's trying to defend her, but I do think that a lot of people, I've seen this from a lot of people, right, where they want to give Anna more benefit of the doubt than they would give other right-wing grifters. And it's like, oh, well, she was bullied, or she was called out, she was criticized too much, so now she's going to the right wing. And I do feel like some of that is because she's a woman. People just like assume she's softer or something.
It's infantilization for sure.
Totally. But like, no one says that about Dave Rubin. No one says that about Jimmy Dore. No one's like, yeah, Jimmy, he was kind of pushed away from the left because Michael Brooks was so rude to him.
Forced the vote.
Sam Cedar was so mean, and then he tried to do force the vote, and no one liked it, so he had no choice but to leave the left. And again, I'm not saying that's what Hasan is doing. I think he's trying to be as charitable as possible and as empathetic as possible. But I think that, as someone in our comments said, yeah, Anna knows what she's doing, and it's about the money. Anna is just as intelligent and just as, like she's just as intelligent as any of these other people. She knows what she's doing, just like Dave Rubin knew what he was doing, just like Jimmy Dore knew what he was doing. And yeah, she's actually made it even more obvious than those people, because she constantly complained on air for years about the fact that she wasn't getting paid enough money. So it's very obvious what's happening. And well, I am usually not opposed to applying a degree of empathy and understanding when we talk about people in their political transition, specifically normal people, downtrodden people, poor people that are easily vulnerable to scapegoat ideology, right? When we're talking about rich political commentators who know exactly what the financial incentive is, no, I don't have any of this like empathy for them. It's not, oh, I'm so sorry. What happened to you? What who hurt you? Who was mean to you online? Oh, I understand. Like, no.
It's also hilarious that the people who are the most vitriolic towards Dave Rubin and Jimmy Dore are some of the softest towards Ana Kasparian. And, a wise woman once called it coddle the white woman hour, and we got to bring that shit to the end.
I'll say I'm still going to advocate for the things I'm advocating for. I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? And I think that like slowly but surely she got like crime pilled, okay? And people were like very upset with her over that. And then she got like transphobia pilled a little bit with like the birthing person stuff. And I think it's just like basically fried her brain. And it's sad to see, but it happens, Can't imagine what a reasonable person would end up looking like to someone like that. Guys, I don't like, the only reason why I'm saying all this is because like I know where she's coming from. Like I know I don't agree with her, and she has attacked me consistently throughout the years, and my response always is like, I hope she's doing all right. I hope she's doing all right. We have our disagreements. It is what it is. But like,
one of the big issues with Anna's grift and why she's been unable to pull it off in the successful way that she was hoping to as of yet. And I think it's that bitterness, Zach. I think that if Ana Kasparian disagreed with Hasan or Cenk or literally anyone who's on the left, I think they would have been fine with it. What makes it so unpalatable, what makes her grift so unpalatable is that she takes everything so personally and that her resentment is undeniable. It's palpable. She can't just handle a disagreement, right? Because like I said, do you really think people would care that much if Ana Kasparian had some disagreement with Hasan? No, she could come on his stream. I'm sure he'd host her and they could have a friendly discussion, a friendly debate, just like Hasan has done with Cenk. Remember, he sat down next to Cenk and debated him like 3 years in a row for Thanksgiving, and they got into it.
Awesome.
It was like it was not a kids gloves debate. It was a real feisty exchange of ideas, aggressive. They were pushing back on each other. They were getting a little bit angry.
Hope it happens again this year.
I do too. My point is like, this is possible. You can totally do it. You're allowed to disagree with the left. People do it all the time. People have come on Hasan's stream, disagreed with him. People have come on our show, disagreed with us. People have all these folks that we're talking about. Emma Vigeland, Emma Vigeland's had plenty of friendly disagreements with people. We're not opposed to like, having a disagreement. In fact, we like it. We've had friendly debates with lots of people. Zach and I have friendly debates with each other. We love pushing back on each other's orthodoxy. The problem is, when someone calls out Ana, when anyone criticizes Ana, and I'm not talking about us, I'm talking about the people we're discussing like Hasan, Emma Vigeland, Lance from the Surfs, who used to work at TYT, she can't take it, and she wants to act like they're not allowed to do that. Like, oh, I'm allowed to have opinions, but you're not allowed to respond. I'm allowed to say whatever I want, but you're not allowed to make a video about it. That's crossing a line. That's unprofessional. That's like some betrayal of our friendship. That's literally the way she talks about this stuff. And I think that's just what makes it so unpalatable to people.
100%. Let's see if there's anything more from Hasan over here, because he was cooking.
You have to understand, she's in a very unique predicament, okay? Like, there are not that many independent voices on the left, right? And this is what TYT was for a very long time, when that space was incredibly lonely, okay? When that space was just fucking lonely, and that's it. So I think it like cooked her a little bit. I think it fried her a little bit. That's what happened. And now, and slowly but surely, I think what ends up happening is like slowly but surely, you just let the reactionary part of your brain that believes certain nonsensical positions like take over. That's it. Anyway, Hasan, you can't just call someone who's ultra nationalistic with a fascist ideology a Nazi. Come on, those people are pretty bad. Yeah, exactly. It's just like so stupid. It's
so anyway, I think that's the bulk of it, of what we were trying to listen to. I was hoping that he would maybe give a prediction about if she was going to stay at the network. It seems like he's not interested in getting quite that into those waters, and it makes me suspect that there, I don't know. Maybe there's more going on behind the scenes. Maybe we'll hear more from Hasan going down the line. But pretty unanimous takedowns from the left. And you know what? Ana can blame all of us for why she has to, run even further to the right now. You know what I mean? Next time when she's sitting down with Nick Fuentes talking about how they have a lot in common, but it's the radical left that they have nothing in common with. You know, when she's sitting down with, Candace Owens, and they're dishing about how people can be so mean on Twitter,
Yep.
We'll know it was our fault.
100%. Yeah, one of the laziest, at least so far. Maybe Anna will evolve into this role, as I said, but right now, just one of the most pathetic attempts to pull off a right-wing grift I've ever seen. Again, if you're gonna sit next to Cenk Uygur and try to defend Donald Trump, at least come with an actual defense. At least don't just pearl clutch at him for saying something that we all know and agree with and understand. That's what's so lazy about this, and it's so dishonest, and it feels like gaslighting. And it's just this, it's the Piers Morgan line. It's really just the same shit that Piers Morgan says every time he has nothing better to say, which is blaming people for accurately identifying Donald Trump as who he is, instead of having any smoke for Donald Trump for being that fascist entity, right? It's crazy. It's beyond maddening. But I am really glad to see the dam finally breaking. People across the left-wing media spectrum pretty much unanimously identifying this for what it is.
A victory lap for the Vanguard, guys. We took a lot of shit. You guys called this a lot of names. You're we believe in media critique. We believe in media criticism, guys. Do you remember when TYT used to believe in critique and media criticism? They used to constantly make videos about Jimmy Dore and how he was full of shit. Do you guys remember that? Do you guys remember when they used to make videos about, Dave Rubin? Lots of people did, right? But when it was Ana Kasparian, oh, she's just a little baby. No, she's a grown-ass woman that's been doing this for a long time, all right? And she engaged in these exact methodologies and tactics, and she could be like, oh, I'm sorry, I regret it now. Yeah, that's because she wants to be coddled. That's because she wants to be welcomed by the right. That's because she sees an opportunity to be hateful and reassured and make more money, and she says, sign me the fuck up.